ships going that direction, just in case. We have a big flotilla going in that direction, and we'll see what happens. It's a big force. We have a big force going toward Iran. I'd rather not see anything happen, but we're watching them very closely. I stopped 837 hangings on Thursday. They would have been dead. Every one of them would have been hung. And I said, if you hang those people, you're going to be hit harder than you've ever been hit. It'll make what we did to your Iran nuclear look like peanuts. And an hour before this horrible thing was going to take place, they canceled it. And they actually said they canceled it. They didn't postpone it. They canceled it. So that was a good sign. But we have an armada. We have a massive fleet heading in that direction. And maybe we won't have to use it. We'll see.
Now, locked, loaded and ready to go, and wipe them off the face of the earth. These are some of the statements by the American President Donald Trump that are now translating into action against Iran in the latest. That is what Donald Trump wants to do, of course. Now, Donald Trump has said that a big force is moving towards Iran. In the past, Trump has alternated between easing tensions and warning of military action, creating a lot of ambiguity over what his intentions really are. But this time it shows there's a certain shift in Washington's posturing. Trump has said that America has sent an armada towards Iran. Listen in.
We have a big force going toward Iran. I'd rather not see anything happen, but we're watching them very closely. I stopped 837 hangings on Thursday, and I said, if you hang those people, you're going to be hit harder than you've ever been hit. It'll make what we did to your Iran nuclear look like peanuts. But we have an armada. We have a massive fleet heading in that direction, and maybe we won't have to use it. We'll see.
Now, after receiving some back-channel assurances that Iran had paused mass executions, Trump delayed the planned strikes last week. He said that there was no plan to act at the time. But according to reports citing U.S. officials, the aircraft USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier and several guided missile destroyers will arrive in West Asia in the coming days. The U.S. warships and fighter aircraft started moving from the Asia-Pacific last week as tensions between Iran and the United States have soared. Now, Trump has repeatedly threatened to intervene against Iran over the recent killings of protesters. But protests had dwindled last week, and the U.S. president had backed away from his rhetoric, claiming that he had stopped the execution of prisoners. On Wednesday, the Iranian authorities gave their first official toll from the protests, saying that 3,117 people had ended up losing their lives in this violence, while human rights groups say that the actual number of those who were killed could actually be higher than that. Now, Iran, for its part, has warned that any attack by the Americans on the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, will trigger a declaration of war. And the comments followed Donald Trump's remarks suggesting that Iran needs a new leadership.
We do not pay attention to Trump's bluster. He knows that if any hand is raised to assault our leader, we will not only cut off that hand decisively and courageously, and this is not just rhetoric, but we will set their world on fire. We will strip them of any security and leave no safe place for them.
Donald Trump has left open the option of attacking Iran militarily after Washington backed the Israeli war, the 12-day war with Iran in the month of June last year, aimed at deteriorating the Iranian Republic's nuclear and ballistic missile programs. Now, Trump said that he hoped that there would not be further U.S. military action on Iran, but America will act if Tehran resumes its nuclear program. Now, Washington has built up its forces in West Asia, had built up its forces before the attacks in the month of June last year. And officials say that they kept the plans to hit Iran's nuclear sites to be secret. And those strikes targeted 3 sites, that is Natanz enrichment facility, Iran's main uranium enrichment site, the Fordo fuel enrichment plant, a bunker near Qom for high-level enrichment, and Isfahan's nuclear technology center used for uranium conversion. So as tensions continue to escalate, the looming question, of course, is where could the Americans strike next?
Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump is warning what he describes as an armada is coming towards the Middle East. He's likely referring to the U.S. aircraft carrier known as the Abraham Lincoln. It, along with other guided missile destroyers, are on their way to the region. Officials told the AP that that carrier group was in the Indian Ocean as of Thursday. All this comes as Trump has warned Iran that he could strike militarily over the killing of peaceful protesters or if Iran carries out any mass executions. Iran, for its parts, has warned the U.S. that any strike on Iran will see American interests across the Middle East targeted by Iranian fire.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel. West Asia is on a knife's edge. Iran's powerful Revolutionary Guard Corps is issuing its sharpest warning yet as the American warships are steaming towards the region. And Donald Trump keeps the option of military strikes firmly on the table. Tehran has said that its finger is on the trigger. Now, the language of force is growing louder by the hour, and our next report tells you more.
Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the same force that led the deadly crackdown on the recent nationwide protests, is now signaling full military readiness. The IRGC says that Iran is more ready than ever, finger on the trigger, and has warned the United States and Israel to avoid what it called any miscalculation. All this is unfolding as U.S. naval forces surge towards West Asia. U.S. President Donald Trump has confirmed that a massive American fleet is heading in Iran's direction. The fleet includes the aircraft carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln, and multiple destroyers, with another aircraft carrier, the USS George H.W. Bush, now at sea from the Atlantic. Trump insists that he prefers to avoid war, but made it clear that force is very much an option.
Where do things stand with Iran? The U.S. has got sizable military assets.
You know, we have a lot of ships going that direction, just in case. We have a big flotilla going in that direction. And we'll see what happens. Big force. We have a big force going toward Iran. I'd rather not see anything happen, but we're watching them very closely.
At the same time, Washington is turning up pressure on multiple fronts. A new Pentagon National Defense Strategy calls on U.S. allies to take greater responsibility for their own security. It reasserts American dominance in the Western Hemisphere and warns that Iran, despite recent setbacks, could try to pursue a nuclear weapon again. The document praises Israel as a model ally and signals that it could be further empowered to defend itself. Adding to the tension, the head of the U.S. Central Command, Admiral Brad Cooper, was reportedly in Israel for high-level meetings this weekend, even as official confirmation remains absent. Some Iranians say that Donald Trump is using psychological warfare.
Trump's actions and threats is a psychological warfare. They like to play with people's thoughts and soul because he has said this many times and has not acted on it, and we have not seen any action from him.
Iran, meanwhile, says that it has taken note of the US military buildup and is operating on high alert. Tehran says that any attack in any form would be treated as an act of all-out war and met with the strongest possible response. For now, both sides are talking about negotiations, about deterrence and about red lines. But with warships moving, warnings flying and tempers flaring after a bloody internal crackdown, the question is no longer whether tensions are high. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
All right, now joining us from Washington, D.C., we have Professor Giorgio Cafiero, who is a professor at Georgetown University and also CEO of the Gulf State Analytics. Professor Cafiero, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. Now, there are threats that are coming in from Donald Trump thick and fast in terms of what he intends to do in the case of Iran, and also the fact that there's this armada of American warships that is headed towards the region. In your assessment, what do you think is Donald Trump planning here?
Well, thank you for having me back on your program. Great to be with you as always. I think Trump is definitely trying to intensify the pressure, and I think he certainly wants to intimidate Iran and scare the leadership in Tehran into thinking that he could and would wage a very intense series of military strikes that take out many important facilities that the state uses, not only internally, but also for its projection of power abroad. The question, though, is whether or not Trump is actually serious about this or whether his bluff is going to be called. I think that clearly there are some important actors in the region, countries such as Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar, and Turkey, that have been working very hard to convince the Trump administration that it is wise to avoid the path of military escalation and to take diplomatic off-ramps.
Right.
So far, they have been successful this year in terms of preventing Trump from taking military action. But Donald Trump, as an unpredictable leader, is always difficult to predict. And it remains to be seen what decision he ends up making. But I think what Trump is trying to do is to get the message out to Iran that a very intense strike may be imminent.
Right. Now, something that's baffling a lot of people who've been watching this region closely is earlier Donald Trump had said that the American weapons are locked and loaded, and if Iran were to crack down on the protesters, then the Americans could get involved militarily. But now the protests have practically petered out in Iran. So what is the premise that Donald Trump perhaps would give if he wants to have some kind of a military showdown with Iran?
It's a really good question. There may be multiple premises to a U.S. military strike against Iran. Trump put himself into a little bit of a box last year when he claimed, despite the assessments of the intelligence agencies here in the United States, that his military strikes in June 2025 wiped out the Iranian nuclear program. So I think possibly it'll be under the guise of eliminating Iran's missile capabilities that would be the justification for strike, or it could be the punishment of protesters, or it could be a number of things.
Interesting. We'll have to wait and watch as to what actually happens in this case. The American military armada moves closer to Iran. Thank you very much indeed, Professor Cafiero, for joining us with our perspective there.
Thank you.